I cut that short. Anyways, good evening, goblins and ghouls and whoever else is watching. I am Actual Dracula, and welcome to a very special episode of Casual Dracula. This is the Halloween episode. And I originally wanted to do a show about one of the most popular elements of Halloween. I am, of course, talking about pumpkins. Pumpkins, what do you know? Do you like them? Let's talk pumpkins. Do you like them? Do you eat them? How do you eat them? Pumpkin pie, pumpkin soup, pumpkin roti. What about pumpkin patches? Do you hang out in them a lot? Maybe you're a pumpkin farmer. If you are, shoot me an email because I got a lot of questions. Anyhow, I couldn't find anyone that was willing to talk at length about pumpkins. So I decided to go with Dracula. I'm Actual Dracula. This is Casual Dracula. So it makes sense, right? And I specifically wanted to talk about my favorite Dracula movie, which is Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, starring the great Gary Oldman as Count Dracula. And I figured if I wanted to do a deep dive on this movie, who better to join me than this gentleman here who regularly dissects movies while drinking scotch on his show Celluloid Scotch on his channel Comic Chop News. Please welcome Dan.
Hello, everyone. And yes, I have scotch in my hand. Usually Carlito is joining me, but he's under the weather today, so unfortunately we are without him.
Right. Yes. I'm. Hopefully he's watching. He can join us in the chat, perhaps. But yeah. I was going to ask you. Yes, I am going to be drinking scotch as well, since technically this isn't Celluloid and Scotch, but you are here, so it only seems proper. And also joining us, another big fan of this movie and an even bigger fan of Monica Bellucci, Mr. Adrian Pandawson.
What is going on, guys? How's everybody doing? Dan, what is going on? I do believe this is the first stream we've ever been on together, right?
Yeah, I know. I've kind of known you from Burke's show and Carlito, but I've never done a show with you and John, and you're in my world, but I've never crossed over with you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to crossing streams with you today.
I like to facilitate the crossing of streams whenever possible.
Dude, Drac, you had a really big night so far. Epic rap battle, man. You look great, dude.
Yeah, thank you. I just figured, it's since it's almost Halloween, I might put my eyebrows on. I think actually, if you look at the original character designs of Dracula in this movie, his eyebrows nearly identical to these.
Nearly.
So, yeah, that's so I went with that. Yeah. So I imagine you're both fans of this film. Dan, you were saying you hadn't seen this in 20 years?
It's been 20 years, and it was weird going back to it now because holy, I forgot how long this movie was.
Oh, yeah.
I was just all right, it's 2 hours and 30 minutes. I still feel like there's a lot more to go. And I was
going to ask you, do you have a minute count on this? Because I didn't. It is about 2.5 hours, right?
2:45.
Wow, yeah.
And then there was commercials on Pluto TV, so it stretched it another 15 minutes where I streamed it today.
Yeah, and Panda, you also are a
It's
fan.
been a while. It's been about it was right around when me and my wife first got together. It was one of those movies that I don't know, for whatever reason, I had on the background, did a little Netflix and chill. But, that was the kind of thing. And that was probably 11 years ago.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I watched this every occasionally. I'd say at least once a year I watch this movie. I think I've watched it more than once this year. And so actually, before we get into it, I just want to say hi to the chat. Hello, White Tiger. Miss So, good to see you as always. Nicole, Thanks for joining us, SSGSS. Good to see you. And you like pumpkin pie, fried salted pumpkin seeds? Yeah, I'm good with that.
Ooh.
Another Chop in the house, Chop and Drop. Also a fan of pumpkin pie. And yeah, looks like that's it. That's okay.
No pumpkin spice, because every white girl loves pumpkin spice.
Yeah. I don't blame them. I like it, but primarily in pumpkin pie. So for anyone who needs a refresher, this was directed by Francis Ford Coppola, who directed a few other minor films you may have heard of, such as the Godfather trilogy and Apocalypse Now. And do you guys know?
Please watch the documentary of Apocalypse Now, where you see
it's
Francis
so
Ford
crazy.
Coppola lose his mind.
Absolutely, Heart of Darkness.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Well, he had to work with like people like Marlon Brando, who just didn't want to even be there in the first place, and he the character was supposed to be a lot bigger than Marlon Brando. So when he showed up, it was
Same thing with
about
the
that.
Godfather. He never learned his lines. They had to staple them to people in the
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh man. Do you know what he directed directly after Dracula?
Yes, Godfather 3.
No, that was before.
Before.
That was before he did Godfather 3, then he did Dracula, then he did Jack, starring Robin Williams as a kid with progeria.
Yes.
So kind of the opposite of Dracula.
This movie doesn't get made. I got a production note on this without Godfather 3. Because Winona Ryder went to make peace with him after pulling out last minute of playing the daughter.
Oh,
that's what Sofia Coppola had to last minute be put in the movie. So she went to make peace with him. And she's here's the script for Dracula. I don't know. Maybe you should read it. And he was like, I love Dracula, the book. I used to read it at camp. That's what started the whole ball rolling that this movie got made.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow. Yeah. Incredible cast, of course. Oldman as Dracula, Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker, Winona Ryder as Mina, and Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing. I mean,
Carrie Elwes.
Yep.
Tom Waits as Renfield.
Yep.
I forgot Tom Waits was in this.
Yeah.
Funny side thing, Keanu Reeves wasn't the first choice. Christian Slater.
Oh, yeah.
He flat out turned it down. And it's like Crank to me, where like I start trying to imagine this movie with Christian Slater, just like Crank it was originally written with Nicolas Cage in mind, and they couldn't get him. He was too expensive. So they got Jason Statham.
Oh man. I can't that's so funny.
I want a shot for shot remake.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that. Cranked with Christian Slater.
Oh no, with even Nicolas Cage.
With Nicolas Cage, sorry. Yeah.
Although I would
Christian
take either.
Slater too. Let's make both.
Right.
Oh man. So I've basically made notes of all the major scenes in the movie, and I figured we could go through them, and you guys can just say if you have any thoughts on those as we go through them. There's first of all, there's like three things that really stand out for me in this movie. One would be the effects. This was all practical and in-camera effects, which of course at the time, this was it was released in 1992, so filmmakers were only just beginning to make a transition into digital effects. I mean, Jurassic Park came out the year later, which was still all practical animatronics.
T2, I think, was a year later as well. I believe it end of 92 or early 93. T2 came out summer 93.
Yes. Yep. And same thing there, but I guess there was there was digital stuff in there, right? There was the T1000.
Yeah, the liquid effects.
So that was just starting to really get to a point where it was actually looking good, and you could use it. You didn't have to use it as sparingly anymore. But what I liked about this movie was Coppola is an old school guy. He had some. There's a couple things I'll mention when we get to them. But
firing
he had
the FX guy.
Pretty crazy in camera things happening. Another thing is the incredible costume designs by Eiko Ishioka.
Oh my God,
most of the budget went there.
Yeah, and worth it. Well worth it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the soundtrack, I think, is incredible. It's by a Polish composer whose name I can't pronounce. Wojciech Kilar, something like that.
You nailed it.
Anyways.
He fired the first effects person because they wanted to put digital in it, and he fired them on the spot when they brought it to him.
Yeah.
Just even suggesting, just that's it.
Yeah,
you don't know my vision.
They're like, I think these effects with the bat and everything would work better if we use digital overlays. And he's like, nope. They argued, and he just said, you're gone. Bye.
Yeah. So I'm going to see how I can... let's see this. I just got some slides here. But also... got to get my notes. Where did they go? 1 second. And I've lost them. Oh, there they are. Okay. So, I guess the movie starts out in 1462 with the Ottoman Empire invading Romania. And then the first thing we see is Vlad the Impaler kissing his love Elizabeta, and right away we get to see some of the fantastic costume design as Vlad is wearing his red armor. That really
blood red,
just iconic design. Here's another example of it there. Yeah, this is one of my favorite costume designs of any movie.
Exactly. Just the touches of all the ridges that they had to put all the muscle lines and everything, as if to make it like it was somebody that was inside out, kind of, where all you're seeing is just the muscle tone of every kind of strand there is. I was amazed by this armor. Even back in the day, thinking about it, I was just like, oh my gosh, and this is coming from, seeing the devil horns on it. It just reminded me a whole bunch of that Tom Cruise movie Legend.
Darkness.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And just the
Legend,
way I remember him. Yeah. Just remember him being so massive in my head. And then, to have the horns, the horns to me right away just took me back to that. And I remember thinking this armor just looks amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. I got to see this armor at an exhibit. Guillermo del Toro did like this exhibit of like his personal collection of like art and film props, and they had this armor there as well. I don't know if it was like screen used or just like a replica, but it's incredible. I love the helmet with like the almost like rabbit ears.
Honestly, this beginning part was one of my favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah,
I love the recreation and the fact that they went to, the story of Vlad Tepes, the Vlad the Impaler story, and actually put that into it, which they never added into the original. Which they were never going to do that back in the 20s, 30s for the original Dracula movie.
30s, yeah,
30s.
Yeah, and this, of course, is as far as we know, the only part of the story that's actually based on a true story, which, of course, was Vlad the Impaler, fighting back against the Turks that were invading his land. And then, this scene right here, where we see the actual impaled people. This is a cool scene because all of these kind of shadows, like when you see the actual scene, it looks like you can tell it's like it almost looks like cut out paper soldiers, like little shadow puppets. And like it's one of those things where it's very clearly Coppola made an interesting choice there to make it look more cartoony than realistic.
Almost like it's a cave drawing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also love the use of the contrast of colors that are used constantly in this, with the shadow and a little bit of light. How the red backdrop really highlights the shadow characters being shown.
Oh yeah, I absolutely love that. Burke has showed up. It is always morphin time. Yes, it is. Yeah, that was a really cool. This is like this whole battle scene. It doesn't go on very long. Anyhow, after the battle, Dracula returns to his castle, where he's told that Elisabetta has killed herself because she was told that Dracula was dead. So she killed herself. The priest says her soul cannot be saved, and she's damned. Her soul is damned. Now, some people may not realize this, but the main priest there is played by Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep. There he is.
See, now that you pointed out, I can see it. But
yeah, you know what? I the first 20 times I watched that movie, I never noticed.
The scene moves very fast, though, as well, though.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get a good look.
It is, yeah, and he's got the beard. But so anyways, he's told that she's damned, so Dracula goes into a rampage. He says, "Is this my reward for defending God's church? I renounce God. I shall rise from my own death to avenge hers with all the powers of darkness." And so this is when he stabs the cross with the sword, and it starts
leaking out.
The blood pours out of it, and he drinks it, and it's the whole blood is life, and it shall be mine. This is him becoming Count Dracula, becoming a vampire. So they don't explain how this makes him a vampire, I guess, but you just gotta.
It's goddamning him, basically.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Movie magic.
Yeah, and right off the bat, pun intended, we see the biggest deviation from the novel, which is the romantic aspect, the love story of Dracula searching for Mina, Elisabetta, because in the novel, Dracula is just a monster. He's not looking for love. He's just out there doing his vampire thing, feeding on humans. And that was a choice that Coppola made to incorporate that whole kind of romantic element to it. But other than that, this is one of the most faithful adaptations of this book. It doesn't stray far from the novel in many places.
Which it surprised me, because when you bring up the romantic element, every female I was talking to, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going on and talk about Bram Stoker's Dracula. Immediately they're like, oh my God, Gary Oldman was so hot in that. And I was like, okay, it did what it needed to do.
Yeah, exactly. So we see the birth of Dracula. Then the next scene, we go to London, 1897, where we see Tom Waits as Renfield. Excellent casting here. I thought he was amazing.
Yes, he did well, and considering the original Renfield was so amazing and over the top in the original Dracula movie, Tom Waits did a great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, is this the time period where we see Gary Oldman with the costume and the top hat and the monocle, or the glasses and everything?
Not yet. This is the very beginning, essentially, of present day in the movie. So we're introduced to Renfield first, and then immediately after we meet Keanu as Jonathan Harker, who's basically being told that Renfield is deranged. I guess they both work for the same firm or whatever it was. So he's being told Renfield is deranged and is in an asylum because he went to Romania and came back all crazy. And so Keanu, Jonathan Harker's to be his replacement, to go to Transylvania and to see this Dracula fellow who's buying up properties all over London.
Was this post Point Break or before Point Break?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like it's before,
because this is Gary Oldman post JFK playing Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, I feel like Point Break would have been like 95 or something.
Yeah, 88, 90.
Oh, Point Break was 91.
Yep. Point Break.
Are you serious?
Yep.
Oh,
Point Break, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and My Own Private Idaho came out before this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
My Own Private Idaho, if you haven't seen it, good movie.
I've seen. Yeah, I feel like I have seen that, but it was so long ago.
But Point Break, best bad movie ever.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we find out Harker's going to Transylvania. We then meet Winona Ryder, who plays Mina. And that was
horrible British accent.
Yeah, that was like
keeps going in and out.
So Jonathan so Keanu, of course, got a lot of flack for his terrible British accent, but hers was just as bad. I mean,
if not worse.
Yeah,
Both of them were just, and then she did that. Was it what Shakespeare movie was it she did?
Oh, she did. I don't know.
I think it was. Or did Keanu do that? I just remember, like, even Family Guy made a joke about her British accent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not great in this. That's for sure.
No.
They don't. I guess they didn't have vocal coaches. They just
better than Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Oh yeah,
they didn't even try.
He didn't even try. Yeah, try. Or Red October, where you have a Soviet submarine commander with a Scottish accent.
Yeah,
but not as bad as that Van Damme Street Fighter being the all-American.
Yeah. So the all-American
I gotta do that movie.
All-American Guile.
Panda,
I'm going to get on that boat. I'm going to go to that river.
Sounds good to me.
I'm going to go over that river and kick Bison's ass, but you can go home.
Oh man, I would love to do a breakdown on that movie as well.
I'm gonna talk to Carlito about it because I'm gonna have to get lit to do that one.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yes.
The next sequence is pretty cool. There is multiple. This is basically Jonathan Harker on a train. The train sequence. There's like multiple layers of imagery created through like real old school techniques, stuff almost no one really does this kind of stuff today, given how easy it is to do digitally. It's like no one would even bother doing things this way.
Was it film overlay, or like, I'm kind of trying to figure out the editing on this to how they did it with film.
This particular one right here, this journal shot, just to show you the kind of director Coppola was. He was truly old school, very hands-on. So there's a train in the scene. The train is moving, and that is actually like a miniature train set.
Okay.
But I guess it wasn't that miniature. You know, it was whatever, a train set. This journal here, how this effect was achieved entirely in camera. This journal was a 20-foot wide replica of a journal placed in front of the train. That's literally like, it's literally a 20-foot wide journal that they painted. It's insane.
Just knowing that's insane. That's insane. Yeah. That is awesome. But you know, the whole camera, the way that it panned out, it reminded me of the way that you know, what's that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger on Mars?
Oh, Total Recall.
Total Recall. It reminds me a lot of the shots of the overhead stuff that they did for the Mars landscape and everything like that. The way it kind of panned out that way. That's what this reminded me of when you saw the train going by, and with the deep reds that you see in the background. But knowing that this is a 20-foot.
Like, it's just like, how do we make it look like the journal is being read with the train in the background? It's like, oh, I know, we'll just make a huge fucking journal and put it in front of the train.
I'm pretty sure they could have just brought the book a lot closer to the camera.
I honestly have no idea why they did it this way, but apparently that's how they did it.
Hey, it looked great.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that's a painted backdrop.
Yeah, I imagine there was a lot of painted backdrops and maquettes and stuff. Yeah, and then we see Keanu reading this Dracula, and you can see Dracula's eyes like in the sky, and that would have all been done, with old school editing techniques. I mean, that stuff would take 5 seconds to do on my laptop right now, but back then it's a lot harder.
It's crazy to think about how many times they would have to overlay something to make it look opaque that way, with the eyes coming through the sky like that. I couldn't imagine how the film editors were going crazy about stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
different time.
Yeah,
different
absolutely.
Time.
Right.
So this is basically Harker's on the train going across Europe. And he gets to Romania, where he's on one stagecoach, and then he's in Transylvania, and I guess that driver won't take him any further. So Dracula sends a stagecoach to pick him up, and Dracula's driver shows up, and he's got like this crazy armor with claws, and like this crazy helmet. And not a lot of people know this. I didn't know it till recently, because it was not revealed in the movie. But Dracula's coach driver is none other than Dracula himself. There's Gary Oldman in the armor.
What?
Yep, that was him. He was the coach driver. But because it's so dark, you can't tell who's wearing that. It was him. They never, you never given any clue to that whatsoever.
You don't really think about it, except for this guy's a little creepy.
Yeah. And then so there's this stagecoach drive on the edge of a cliff. There's like wolves following him, blue, and then this blue mist thing kind of appears when they get to the castle. It's totally unexplained. It looks almost like some kind of force field or something. Another really unexplained thing. I don't know anything about that. I don't know if you guys do.
Nothing.
Yeah.
I knew there was just a lot of mist shots in this. I think at one point he turns green, like into a green mist.
Green mist, yes.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and then he.
Yeah, but this is like, it looks
pleasure.
like blue fire that just, it's like lines of blue fire that go up from the ground, but like they're just kind of like oddly placed there, and there's no explanation for that. I don't know if there's anything like that in the book. I'd have to.
It's been a long time since I read that book.
Yeah. So he arrives at Dracula's castle, and now we see the man himself, Count Dracula, who says, "Welcome to my home. Enter freely of your own will, and leave some of the happiness you bring." And right here, Dracula's costume, of course, this is a very different Dracula than we were accustomed to seeing, with the black suit and cape.
It's more regal.
Absolutely.
Kind of akin to what you're wearing now.
Yeah, not like that. So yeah, he's got the long red cloak, which was inspired by robes of Chinese emperors. But he's also got the crazy butt hair with the super long tail in the back. It's a very confusing haircut. I don't know how that thing is put together. It's just like I don't even know where that idea came from. Have you ever seen anyone with hair like that before? Because
no,
I definitely haven't.
Just Mr. Burns on the Simpsons spoof for Treehouse of Terror.
Yeah.
Or Treehouse of Horror, when they spoofed this and they had the shadow following behind playing with the yo-yo. Like,
I can't even figure out how they constructed this thing. Like, 'cause I don't have a picture, but if you look at the back of it, it's like it's somehow knotted together with like a really long ass ponytail.
I mean, it's a wig. It's got to be a wig.
Yeah, it's a wig. I just don't even know how they put that wig together. It's feat
probably
of engineering.
A lot of little clips probably inside.
Yeah.
But I try to think of like I'm trying to think of like the inspiration to make the wig that way. I mean, like, there's just
look
no
at Padme
for...
in Phantom Menace. They kind of went for that look.
Yeah. Dracula and Berserker, Jonathan Harker. Oh, also, this Dracula had really hairy palms, which you get to see in one scene.
Did you ever read how they did the whole shadow background? Because that to me was compelling, watching what the shadow was doing as he's walking in this scene.
No. So that I was just about to get to, because we see, so like he now just gets to the castle, and then so they're talking, right? And Harker says something that offends Dracula, and he like pulls a sword out, and it's like looks like he's gonna cut his head off. And then then you see these crazy shadows on the wall moving, where it like looks like he's going to choke him, like the shadows are going to choke him. Yeah. What do you know about like that? How that was done?
I'm curious if you knew, because I hadn't watched any extras or read anything about it, but I was curious how it was done, unless they had someone kind of doing shadow, like they had a projector on another person doing it, so it projected behind him. That's the only way I can imagine they did it. But the fact that they got it to look so close to him.
Yeah, it looks, because you see Dracula in the scene, but then his shadow is doing something completely different. Yeah, I don't know how they did that.
It's one of those things, if you're not paying attention, you miss it. But if you're paying attention, you're like, wait, what's going on? Like, this is weird. But like, again, there's so many things in this movie they do really well. And then there's some story points that bug the hell out of me now.
Yeah. But yeah, the shadow thing was done particularly well, especially when you consider, that was just all shot then and there. That was not anything put in afterwards. That was not post-production. They shot because that's how they did pretty much everything in this movie.
I wonder if they built like a 20-foot wide Gary Oldman and then had a regular person doing the shadows behind him.
A 20-foot Gary Oldman. Yeah.
Probably not.
Then we get to see Dracula's sense of humor, where he says that Harker looks like a man of good taste. And he sees the picture of Mina, who looks remarkably like Elisabetta, because they were both played by Winona Ryder. And then it goes back to London, where we see Mina, and then we meet her friend Lucy and all the dudes that she wants to bang. Quincy Morris, the Texan, Jack Seward, the doctor, and the wealthy armor Holmwood.
It's basically The Bachelor, but for her.
Yeah. And I think she was proposed to by all three, but she ends up being engaged to Arthur Holmwood.
Carrie Elwes, if I remember.
Yes. And so Mina's basically wishing she was as pretty and desired as Lucy. Then it goes back to the asylum with Renfield, and there's another cool like design element here, which is they have those metal cages. Inmates have the metal cages on their heads. It's like literally just like a box cage. And then Renfield has cages on his hands. I always liked that. Yeah. And it goes back to Dracula's castle with the
creepy
shaving
scene. Fucking scene.
Yeah, the shaving scene where he licks the razor.
And just the noise that he makes when he does it.
Oh, when he starts shaving him, he's like,
yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fantastic scene. And then and then Keanu he's like, I've seen many strange things already. Bloody wolves chasing me through some blue inferno.
Stay out of the parts of the building.
Yeah. And then we get the children of the night, what sweet music they make. And then one of the strangest scenes in the whole movie, because Dracula leaves, and then Keanu, I'm just going to keep calling him Keanu, it's easier. Keanu looks out the window, and it looks like he sees Dracula like crawling down the side of the building. Yes. That's what it always looked like to me. Yeah. Very strange. And And so once Dracula leaves, we get to meet Dracula's 3 brides, one of which
Monica
is
Bellucci.
Monica Bellucci.
Carlito, I know, was probably like, I gotta talk about this because that's
Yeah.
his number one.
Yeah, excellent casting here. Probably my favorite bit of casting in the whole movie. Monica Bellucci.
Excellent choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this scene, when I saw this in the theaters in '92, there was somebody who was doing a Keanu in the crowd. Like, they go, "Whoa, succubus," and like just yelled it real loud. And every time I see the scene, that's all I think about.
Yeah.
That dude has ruined this scene for you.
Yes,
entirely.
Like everybody in the crowd laughed, but like literally, that's all I can think of every time I see this scene.
This is a wild scene because, like they're like all over Keanu, and then Dracula shows up and he's like, "No, he's mine. Leave him alone," basically, and he scares them away. But they're like, 2 of them are like connected at the waist, and they're doing this weird spider crawling thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's really creepy. Absolutely,
pull the fucking baby out.
Yeah, then he brings them the baby to eat. I guess for dinner.
But that wide shot of them going out from the bed, like as it's panning out, and they're just doing their weird little dance, and they're all trying to get off him. Like to me, that still sticks in my head. And I watched that. I remember watching that as a young kid, going, "Damn, that's creepy." Like,
totally.
The practical effects having those 2 girls co-joined like that. I started trying to do the math of like, all right, like what did they do, or is there something in the bed where they were like both like there was a hole in the bed and they can kind of like move in it, so it looked like they were joined together.
Yeah. I have no idea how they did that, but it looks great.
God, Tank. Vampire chicks are hot. Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm reading that,
especially if one of them is
Butthead voice.
Yeah.
Vampire chicks are hot.
Now I can't get that out of my head. Whoa, succubus.
Like, literally, it was just so weird and like timed well. Like everybody in the theater just kind of like turned and were like, okay, like
yeah. Oh man. So yes, Drac brings them the baby. Then we see Dracula being packed in Earth. And then he gets shipped. He's on a ship on his way to London. And then we see, this is the first time we see him transform into another persona. We see him transform into his Wolfman beast-like persona, which is just fucking crazy.
Remind me of Fright Night.
Yeah, so he ends up in London, and then Mina goes outside one night and sees Lucy getting bit by the wolf.
Well, she was getting taken to Pound Town first.
Yes, so this is another amazing, really creepy design, and there she's getting taken to Pound Town by the Wolfman. That scene really sticks out in my mind as well.
16-year-old me was going, I don't know if I should be turned on or horrified by this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's something very off-putting about the whole thing too. But also it's just a really what was really off-putting actually was there Lucy kind of when Mina shows up, Dracula kind of walks away, and then Lucy wakes up. She's like, "Oh, I don't know what happened, like lost consciousness or whatever." And we see them walk away, and Dracula's still standing there the whole time, but it's like they didn't see him
because he told them to forget. I think.
Yeah, it's really creepy.
Also, prior to this, he's influencing them even on the ship where they're running around the cemetery in the rain.
Yes. Yeah. He I guess has that ability, right, to tell them like not to see him.
Yeah, it was weird that like his abilities are kind of nebulous of what he could do. He can control the weather. He can kind of influence people from beyond, like the zoo. Everybody's going crazy. The lunatic asylum. Everybody's going crazy. He's creating all these issues before he's even hit land.
Yeah. And that's actually a good segue into the next character introduction. Well, actually, we don't see him yet, but we hear a narration from Abraham Van Helsing, who's talking a bit about vampires. He seems to know an awful lot about vampires. I don't know where he's getting all this information from. Anyway, so after the whole wolf incident, we see young Dracula for the first time. Of course, he ends up talking to Mina, and yeah, there's the young Drac, dapper as always.
Dude, just the costume designs in this time period alone, just everybody that was in here just looked amazing. But
Yeah,
of course, Drac just stood out the most, wearing that green and that top hat. Oh my gosh, just looked amazing.
The thing I read, basically, he wanted everybody to pay attention more to the cast because he considered them the gems of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he wanted the costumes to be so extravagant and the money of the budget to go into that, because he wanted to make sure that you were paying attention to the cast of actors and not, he wanted that to be the focus, not the effects.
Very good choice.
Yeah.
Because after all these years, I still talk about the costume designs and the set play and just the people that were in it. Like, because you really get taken back to that time period, or what you think of what people would look like in that time period. And this is exactly what I think of.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I believe this one. Budget. I believe this won the Academy Award for Best Costume Design.
Oh, good.
If it didn't, it should have, but I think it did. Yeah, so there's young Drac. Then we see the boys, Quincy and Jack visiting Lucy, who is suffering from Dracula's bite. When she was bitten by the wolf Dracula there. And then Mina and young Dracula go to watch a movie. And there's this very this is when he says, "I've crossed oceans of time to find you," and
great line.
He's trying to, I guess this is when he's really starting to kind of try and get Mina under a spell. He almost bites her here, decides to not go through with it for whatever reason. And then a wolf shows up. We also see what's cool in this scene, in this like movie theater, I guess, whatever it is, where they're watching this silent movie. There's also the shadow puppet play of the
yes,
the guys being impaled on like one wall.
Oh,
and a wolf shows up. Dracula says something in Romanian to the wolf. And Mina is like very clearly into Dracula at this point, because she didn't know what was about to happen. But she's obviously falling for him. And again, this is stuff that was kind of Coppola's idea, but it works for this movie, I think, absolutely. Then we get to see Anthony Hopkins as Van Helsing.
Yes.
Also another bit of amazing casting.
He chews the scenery like no other.
Yeah.
Like it's a competition between him and Oldman, because I feel like they're both competing to like, I'm gonna own this scene and they're gonna remember me. The wild arm movements, the monologues. Yeah. Holy shit.
Oh, no doubt. They're like trying to one up each other for sure, I think. He definitely did a lot of that. Even here, he's talking about vampire bats in the scene, blood and diseases of the blood, and he talks into what did he say? Civilization and syphilization.
Yes.
Yeah. Great scene. So we get we know that this guy obviously has done some research here. And of course, Van Helsing is Jack Seward's teacher. So Jack gets her to come take a look at Lucy. who has fallen ill, and he shows up.
Post Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, that's right. And he determines Lucy needs a blood transfusion. And that's great. Arthur Holmwood bursts in with these like robust like Englishman exclamations, these like upper crust like, what in God's name is going on here? Good God, it's perfect. He chews the scenery as well.
Hopkins gives him a lot of shit too. He's like, come on, where'd the blood go? Be better. Like,
to Seward, yeah, absolutely. He's like, yeah, you're a doctor, you're a scientist, figure it out. Then some other stuff happens, and then we see Harker escaping from Dracula's castle, and he finds a church, and the nuns take him in, and they send a letter to Mina telling her to come there so that they may be married at once. And so Mina is about to leave for Romania, and Van Helsing is there, and he's being a total creeper. He like grabs Mina and dances with her, and he sniffs her like he's in full Hannibal Lecter mode in that scene.
I shit kind of on Keanu Reeves in this movie, but I feel like post getting away from the castle, the damaged kind of PTSD, Harker, he's actually pretty good doing that, where he's just scared.
Yes, yeah, that's an excellent point. I agree. Then we see so then we see there's a scene where we actually see Van Helsing reading about Vlad the Impaler,
the Book of Vampire.
Yeah, the Book of Vampire, and he determines like, this creature must be the one who bit Lucy. This has got to be Dracula. That's got to be it. And Dracula's a vampire. And then so young Dracula receives a letter from Mina explaining that she can never see him again because she's going to go marry Keanu. And we see Dracula crying.
Blood tears.
Tears of blood there. Another creepy shot for sure. And then he's pissed. So he goes back to Lucy to finish the job once and for all. He attacks the boys guarding the house. And then this is where he's like, he's basically turns Lucy to a vampire. He's like, I'm going to condemn you to living death, to eternal hunger for living blood. And he jumps in as a wolf. So yet another transformation, not the wolf man, but an actual wolf. And he, kills Lucy once and for all, turning her into a vampire. And then we have what I can only assume is a nod to the elevator scene in The Shining, as these like waves of blood start spraying all over the bed. So pretty cool. Also, I would just like to point out I'm a huge fan of this headboard, this like Art Nouveau. Like that's a really cool bed. I want that headboard.
The budget went towards that too, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm a big this
fine craft.
Big fan of the style of After the Blood.
Yeah.
Would you like that headboard before or after the blood?
Oh, I want it before. The blood would just ruin it.
I love that they gave her the same tomb as Lennon.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So. Lucy. This is Lucy's funeral. She has this excellent glass coffin, the same one Lennon had. Absolutely. So while her funeral is taking place, Mina and Keanu are getting married. And so they have her funeral here, and then Van Helsing rounds up the boys and takes them to her tomb, where he he explains basically Lucy is now this creature that they have to. They've got to drive a stake through her heart and cut off her head, which they do with almost no questioning whatsoever. They're not like, can you explain this further why we have to do this? They're just like, oh, okay, if you say so. And just
Anthony Hopkins has it like, she's the devil's concubine.
Yeah, that's it. And they're just like, well, okay, well, that sounds bad, so we'll do what you say. No further questions necessary.
The dinner scene after this is even more amazing.
Oh yeah. I would also like to point out more excellent costume design in Lucy's funeral gown here.
It's almost a My Chemical Romance video for Helena at this point. Like,
yeah, that crazy collar. Yeah, just another wild costume. I love it. And a great classic vampire moment here where Lucy pukes blood all over Van Helsing.
Yes. I thought of The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very Exorcist. I missed some comments here that I wanted to point out. I guess that was I was talking about Van Helsing there.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty cool. And the blood transfusion. Yeah, I love that.
The little pump in the jar. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's the puke. Oh yeah, then the dinner scene. The dinner scene is right after with Van Helsing with Harker and Mina, and so Van Helsing has got this big roast beef that it looks entirely raw on the inside, and we get my favorite line in the movie: "I know where the bastard sleeps. I brought him there," and that terrible accent.
Just Van Helsing going, "Oh yeah, I cut off her head."
Yeah. Oh yeah, I cut off her head and stabbed her in the heart. And,
and she's just like, "Oh my god!" Harker's just like, "My god, man!" Like, stop. It's like, what? I did it.
Yeah, and I know where the bastard sleeps. And then we also get more of Van Helsing's encyclopedic knowledge of Dracula's powers. I'm not sure where he got all this information from.
The Book of Vampires.
But it implies that other people in the past have known about Dracula and wrote it down somewhere, because he's explaining how he can turn into rats and bats and fog. And it's like, I don't know what book you're reading, dude, that explains Dracula can do this. But okay, I guess... I guess it would be the book about vampires, right? But he doesn't know
who wrote it, and how did he know where it was? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, where did he get this stuff? It's pretty incredible. And then so after the dinner scene, Mina visits Renfield in the asylum, where he warns her to basically get the fuck out of Dodge. Like, Dracula's no good. And then shortly after, Dracula appears as a green mist and enters Renfield's cell and kills him. That's a really cool scene, because it's just like this mist slamming Renfield against the wall. That was that was the end of Tom Waits for this movie. Then the misty Dracula enters Mina's bedroom and reveals to her that he's none other than Count Dracula, the one who held Keanu captive and killed Lucy. And this is great. She's upset by this, but immediately does a 180 and says, like, she loves him and wants to be with him forever. And Dracula bites her, and then she drinks blood from his bare chest. And this is one of the most erotic scenes. It's the most erotic. I don't know if you want to call this the most erotic scene or the Lucy getting banged by the Wolfman, but
it was definitely kinky. Very kinky.
Yeah, so she's just drinking from his bare chest, and he's loving it. I'm pretty sure he comes at one point, and
well, I just like the fact that Mina just recognizes his touch in her sleep as he's going into the bed as the green mist. She's like, "Oh, lover," and you're just like, "How do you recognize that? It could have just been any random mist. You just so happen to know that."
It could have been any other mist, or even another vampire disguised as a mist.
What if it was the ghost from the Entity? Like,
Yeah.
What if it was the house spirits that we talked about earlier, the blue mist?
Yeah.
It could have been what do you call it? An incubus, like a ghost that has sex with you.
Yeah.
No, she figures that it's him. And so then Van Helsing and the boys are on the hunt for Drac. They show up to Mina's place, and Dracula transforms yet again into his awesome Batman form, which is absolutely
Fright Night. That's where I started thinking.
Definitely Fright Night feel to it. One of my favorite character designs in any movie. It's just
I love the way that he came down from the rafter upside down.
He was upside down from the rafters. Yeah.
Oh, that was the best. This scene I remember very vividly because I think I had nightmares about this. Like there was times where I couldn't sleep looking above because the way that my house was set up in Texas, we had actual like brown beams that would go through, and it reminded me exactly like the rafters that he came down from. And so, I would have nightmares about this.
This to me was an absolutely brilliant design because instead of kind of going the obvious route where they're like, how do we make a Batman without making him look like, Batman with big wings that'll probably like be incredibly difficult to make look right. They went the route of having his wings folded up like you would actually see if you ever see pictures of a vampire bat when they're feeding on something, like they'll walk and like crawl with their wings folded up, and they made his arms look just like that.
How miserable had Gary Oldman been in that makeup chair for that long?
Oh God, that must have taken forever.
Because Freddy Krueger, I believe they said it took 12 hours just to put his makeup on.
Wow. Ooh. I can't imagine.
That's just the face. That's just face stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is a whole body.
Whole body. Yeah, I can't imagine it was very comfortable.
I imagine it's a zip-up suit at some point, and then it's just the head, and then kind of.
Yeah.
But still, like, it's very good makeup, and supposedly that was Roman Coppola who did that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
All I know is I would love to get a full-size replica of this made, and just if I could put that out on my porch for Halloween, I would have the best Halloween decorations in the neighborhood.
Ooh, have it hanging upside down.
Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
So there's this bat Dracula. He's basically explaining, look at what your god has done to me. They then shoot Dracula, who transforms once again, this time into a pile of rats. And that no one saw that coming. I certainly didn't.
No.
They just it's like that man-shaped mass of rats that then just like falls to the floor and runs away.
I forgot
that was so cool. That's one thing. I don't know how they did that effect, but it looked incredible.
Yeah, I wonder. I almost want to buy the 4K disc just so I can see the extras if there's like a making of, because that was nearly $15.99 for the 4K disc right now on Amazon.
Do they have a director's commentary or anything like that? Because I love
should be
movies. I love, you guys always talk about all this stuff, and I love watching the commentary, like watching the movie all over again to see how, like the process that they went through each scene. And this one would have been a great one to see what kind of what they did for effects that weren't really effects. You know what I mean? Like, just
yeah.
I just love commentary on movies. I'm sorry.
The one for John Carpenter's The Thing is great. Because, the guy who did the effects, it was his second job ever. He was Rick Baker's apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And his first movie he did by himself was John Carpenter's The Thing, which in my opinion has the best practical effects I've seen outside of American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
And just this dude, like, it became his masterpiece. It was his first job, and like, honestly, like, it's the best I've seen.
Yeah, the Thing absolutely had some of the best practical effects. And this too, like this whole rat thing right here. I want to find out how they did that. So then the rats all run away, and then Van Helsing. Hey, what's up, Joe? How's it going? Thanks. Thank you. You too. Pocan Joe is part of the rap battle tonight as well.
Shocking.
Yeah, incredible. So Van Helsing then hypnotizes Mina, and so I guess he's good at that as well. He hypnotizes Mina and basically finds out Dracula is returning home to Transylvania. So he rounds up the boys and it's like, all right, boys, we're going to Romania. They decide, they go there and they decide, okay, we're going to cut off Dracula before he gets to his castle.
Find out about his gypsy army.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Mina and Van Helsing, they head directly there where they encounter Dracula's 3 brides.
My favorite Anthony Hopkins part ever.
Yeah, that's an insane part. Oh man, and yeah, he's basically trying to to bang Mina right there.
She's seducing him.
She's seducing him, but he's just like all for it, 100%. And Mina's supposed to be like 19 or 20, and he's, I don't know how old.
Well, she's like, you were in love with Lucy. Why don't you love me? I was like, what the?
Yeah. And then the so Dracula's bride shows up, and then
the Tommy Wiseau award goes to Anthony Hopkins throwing their heads off the bridge of the castle.
Yep, he decapitates them, and then that is absolutely, you're right about that.
Dracula!
Yeah. I kind of really like it, but it's very much like, it's just so over the top.
Oh, it is. That's why I said, like, him and Gary Oldman between the waving hands and like chewing the scenery. It was like, oh, he did this? Okay. Well, I'm going to do this.
This is the choice I'm going to make. And then, so now it's like a race against time, against the sun, as all the boys are in hot pursuit of Dracula's stagecoach, because I guess he found out they were going to cut him off. Whatever, he's going to get to the castle first, and they got to stop him before the sun sets. And he reaches the castle just as the sun sets, but it's too late for him because he pops out of his box. But Keanu's already there on top of him and slashes his throat. And then Quincy runs over with his big Texas hunting knife and stabs Dracula in the heart. Another great costume here, of course, the Gustav
the Emperor robe,
inspired gold. That's just a crazy costume. Oops, I went. This.
The
again,
Emperor and Hero wore that.
Yeah, it's just so not like Dracula you've seen before. It's totally different.
Yeah, a lot of their dress or a lot of their costumes were inspired by like Asian culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they also like pushed that he was a prince, so like he would wear something regal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dracula is all fucked up, and he basically drags himself into the church, which I guess is like part of his castle or next to his castle. I don't know.
I think it was like the throne room.
Yeah, I don't know. I maybe it was.
Anthony Hopkins has a line before this. We have become God's madmen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's perfect. And so basically Dracula goes into the church and Mina joins him and kisses his gross ass face. Yeah, she kisses that twice, you know.
Yeah. That's love.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah, and then she goes on about she says some stuff about how love can release us from the powers of darkness, blah blah blah, and then stabs him through the heart, lifting the vampire curse. I don't know. They like just do some very subtle effect that like brings life back to her face. So I guess that kind of implies that she's no longer going to be a vampire. And then she cuts his head off, and that's the end. That's the end of the movie. That's it. And there's
when is the point when Gary Oldman tells I can't remember who has the crucifix at that time, but they show up with the crucifix and he says that one epic line. I can't think of what he says.
No, he was like, that little thing can't kill me or whatever, and then he makes it go on fire, but then he hits it with the holy water.
Yeah. That's when he's the bat creature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the line.
This movie's production budget for its time was kind of high. It's $40 million.
Yeah.
Which opening weekend it did $30,521,000. Which it was 37% of total gross. International total did 133 million, and then 82 million domestic total. In today's adjusted, it would be 182 million. It would have done.
Yeah, I mean, it did really well at the time, right? Like that's.
Yeah, it did 5.4% more than its budget times its budget. So, it was impressive for the time, and it came out Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh, did it?
Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Interesting time for a movie like this to come out.
Yeah.
Right. Drac had said, you shouldn't put your faith in such trinkets of deceit.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
That's
a great line. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely. I did want to check one thing here. I'm curious.
5 years before it came out on home video. 5.
Huh.
1997, it came out on home video finally, which is insane because if you think about the releases now, how they turn around.
Yeah, 6 months later, it's already on a streaming service.
Yeah, like.
I'm just curious to see if it won the best costume.
I think it did.
If it deserved to win anything, it's that.
Yeah.
Let's see what it went up against here.
Dances with Wolves was that year, I think.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah. So it was nominated for Best Art Direction, but lost to Howard's End.
Oh, won Best Costume, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Sound Editing.
Yeah.
Lost Production Design.
Oh, the production design on this whole movie was just amazing.
I mean, the costuming, it had to win. Like, it just had to.
Hands down.
Yeah, absolutely. Oldman was not nominated for Best Actor.
No, he wasn't going to win it for this.
He was not going to win for that. Well, I mean, Al Pacino, Scent of a Woman. That's who won that year.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, like
you can't get better than that.
He was due.
Yeah, he was due. Also best picture that year, Unforgiven. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
Ooh, some heavy hitters they were going up against this year.
There were some movies in the 90s, like, and then you think of movies that have cult classic stuff, like Tombstone won nothing, but Val Kilmer should have won something for at least like supporting actor in that.
Best supporting actor. Oh, the whole time during Tombstone when he looks like he's just dying the entire movie.
Yes.
And you're like, dude, how did you not get anything for that? Amazing.
But Gary Oldman, like, he had so many roles which were small, but he made, like, The Professional. He's incredible in that movie.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing an interview with Gary Oldman once where he was talking about him having to do an accent and how immersive he is in that character, that he actually had to take voice acting lessons to get his English accent back because
him and Daniel Day-Lewis
at that point. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so crazy. There's another great actor, Daniel Day-Lewis. Oh my goodness, man!
So
I had no idea he was that guy that did My Left Foot. Steve Brown. I was like, oh my gosh! I thought that person was actually disabled. I had no idea.
There was a Halloween script that was going around, Halloween Returns, where Gary Oldman was who they were picking for Dr. Loomis to show up in the post credits.
Ooh, what happened
And this
with
was
that?
basically the Accods said no to it, but they took parts of it and then turned it into the Blumhouse movie. But Gary Oldman as Dr. Loomis, I would have been, just for the shock value of it, him showing up at the end of the trench coat, I would have been all for.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen, but just the thought of it just amuses me to no end. So, as far as vampire movies, where would you guys put this as like in your pantheon?
For me, it's my favorite. Yeah. Actually, yeah, you go ahead, Panda.
Yeah, for me, it's right up there. This is one of the earliest memories I have of a vampire movie, other than something like something that comes to mind, Monster Squad. You know what I mean? Like
I love
all
Monster
those kiddie
Squad
movies. But that's what I'm saying, is that like you have these campy versions of Dracula, and then you have a totally re-envisioned version of him with the butt haircut that I would have never figured. You know what I mean? Like when I think of Dracula, I don't think of the butt haircut at first, but man, like this movie did a lot of things for me, my young mind, about thinking of other ways to think about Dracula or monsters in general. So for me, it's right up there as one of my favorite
ambitious
Dracula movies. Yeah, ambitious is a good word.
Yeah, for me, I'd say, well, it is my favorite Dracula movie, and just because, yeah, it's the one that I grew up kind of watching. It's definitely the one I've watched the most, and you're right, it was absolutely ambitious. It's also just so different from any of the others because of things like the costumes and the performances. I love the original Bela Lugosi film. I love Christopher Lee Dracula, as campy as that is.
The old Hammer films were interesting. Peter Cushing trying to kill him constantly.
And then in terms of just straight up vampire films, I love 30 Days of Night.
I feel like that one's underappreciated. I really think that changed kind of I know my old co-host Jennifer, Comics Will Break Your Heart, and I talked about how kind of there was vampire fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think 30 Days a Night did something which should have been so obvious to people knowing what goes on up there, that it puts a twist on it. And even in the movie, they're like, man, we should have thought about this years ago.
Yeah.
And it was original, and I loved it. And then in the comics, Philadelphia, with the founding fathers, John Adams being the vampire lord and trying to lead an uprising. It's something different and new.
That's one I still have to read, Philadelphia.
Yeah, I've interviewed the writer twice on my channel. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I heard a lot of good things about that. I love the original 30 Days of Night comic.
Yes.
And the movie was really good as well.
So Dan, where do you put this movie at?
So, as far as a Dracula movie, I mean, there's not a whole lot with Dracula himself that you can really put rather high. I mean, oh god, there was that. Was it Dracula? The one with what was the actor's name? The one who
Eddie Murphy.
No,
Eddie Murphy.
No vampire in Brooklyn. Nobody wants to talk about that.
Hey, John. No, the actor who was in the Hobbit movies, and he was in the Fast and the Furious later movies. He looks like Orlando Bloom, but he's not Orlando Bloom.
I don't know.
But he was in that Dracula movie.
Viggo Mortensen?
No, he was in the Dracula movie that they tried to start the whole Universal Monsters universe with. It was like Dracula the beginning.
It was the actual Dracula, the like 2019 version of Dracula, right?
Or 2017, whatever it was, 2016.
Was it Dracula Untold or something?
Yes.
That's it. Yeah.
So that was the last one where, at least they put the war into it, and he was the Impaler.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay, but boy, it was a missed opportunity for starting their universe with, and boy, so I mean, that would probably be Yes, that would probably be like the last on my list because they just mishandled it.
Yeah.
The original Dracula, I have such a fond memory of, especially Renfield, because my mom used to do an impersonation. My mom passed away, so like I'll always have that as my Rosetta Stone for that universe. Bela Lugosi. I mean, I watched all the Abbott and Costello movies, so the Bela Lugosi ones will always be there. I'd say this would be like number 2 or 3. Like I could go back and forth with the Hammer movies because they're so over the top, the acting, that I can't stop laughing at.
Yeah.
As far as vampire movies, I really, really love Shadow of the Vampire with Willem Dafoe playing Nosferatu with Cary Elwes.
Nosferatu.
Such a great movie. And the original Salem's Lot, because Barlow is so terrifying, is this blue rat tooth monster that's bald, and it's a cheesy TV movie, but going back to my mom, there's a part where the kid's outside the window scratching it saying "let me in." My mom would wait for me to go to bed around Halloween and go to my window and start scratching and say "let me in" to scare the crap out of me. So like we always watch this, and it'll always be a fun memory. Lost Boys.
Yes.
Fright Night is a big one. Monster Squad I loved. Like such a fun movie. That's the Goonies for horror fans.
Yes.
I haven't watched it in a long time, but the very original Nosferatu, I mean, for a silent film, that is
beautifully shot.
That can still hold people's attention today. And also the 80s version of Nosferatu with Klaus Kinski.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, you should check that out. That one's good.
But
because it's Nosferatu, but with dialogue.
Shadow of the Vampire, if you want to see the recreation of the making of Nosferatu, but with this whole other take on it. And Willem Dafoe is so creepy in it.
He is.
And makeup the whole time, like just a great movie and underappreciated. Lost Boys, like you can't go wrong with that movie, especially in the 80s.
Yeah, and John, these are great picks. John, Lost Boys is a favorite vampire movie, and Bela Lugosi is the best Dracula. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of 30 Days of Night's another one.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for stopping in. 30 Days of Night's a great one. And honestly, I haven't seen many vampire movies lately, really, that's come out that's been kind of compelling.
Yeah, same here. I'm trying to think of what the last one would have been. And
the Strain TV series by Del Toro was the only one, really. And even that's not really true, like vampires.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. There is, I guess we have the Blade movie to look forward to.
Whenever it comes out, like it's just with COVID, they keep pushing it back.
Yeah.
See, 1995 was just such a year for like spoof off Dracula. We had like Dracula in Brooklyn, and then we had Dracula Dead and Loving. Oh my god, yeah. Like, and my dad was such a big fan of Leslie Nielsen just because of Naked Gun and everything. And like I remember going to the movie theater and just hating that Dead and Loving movie.
Philadelphia on the top left.
Nice.
Right. Yeah, I need to read that. I know they just
it's a $9.99 trade, the first book. So
and there's like a new story that
Nita Hawes.
Yeah, that's part of it, right?
It's a spinoff, but they just finished the third arc yesterday. If your comic shops actually got it, mine did not. But Image is having a lot of issues with shipping lately, especially to shops because of now the paper shortage. Because that's a thing.
Now they're not doing second printings or anything.
So it's interesting how much worse everything's getting now. Oh god, I just feel like lockdown's happening again.
Yeah.
And I'm an essential worker, and now I'm just going to have people coming in going, why don't you have toilet paper? Why don't you have this? It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't control this. Leave me alone.
Right.
There's no toilet paper because some people need their second printings of comics.
So definitely I have it down. You wanted to be on for Zodiac when we do it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And
I'd love to.
Street Fighter, like I'm going to make this happen.
Yes. Street Fighter? Yeah, dude. I would totally
because Carlito, like I know he's just gonna be like, what did you just do?
Yeah.
But like it's such a bad movie, and it's Raul Julia's last movie, which is even more horrifying.
Yeah. That being your last movie, it's just
and he has that line, what oh god, what was it? What ended up changing your life was just another Tuesday for Bison. And I was just like, oh
yeah,
god, who wrote this?
Oh man.
I'm such a big fan.
Oh wow.
The movie. I've got the actual Van Damme cutout, and he even had one of those cards in the back that you could cut out.
I've never gotten more thumbs down on a post than when I posted the video of Van Damme's speech from that movie.
I was drinking some Lagavulin 16 year.
I've been wanting to try that actually. It's on my list.
It's very peaty. It's a peat monster. So
the Glenfiddich 15 year has been a good one for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually not too expensive. It's like 60 US.
Right. Yeah. Though this was a gift for my birthday. But yeah, it's very good. And hey, Tylox, thanks for joining us. I think it's probably good time to wrap up. We've been going
almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, wow. Not as long as the movie, though.
No, but there was a lot to unpack in this movie, and like I had issues with it. Like for some reason, it felt longer than it was, and the romance part kind of bogs it down. Like, and some of the acting, I literally sat there and I was like, did they just say what I think they did? And I started rewinding, and that made it take longer because I was like, hold on, what was that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Anthony Hopkins, like, my God, like he is acting with a capital A.
Yo, big time. Yeah. But I personally love it. I mean, it's it's a Dracula movie. You can totally get away with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and Francis Ford Coppola, like, I feel like he had fun with this, but like if you look back in his history, he's never had a movie come out that there hasn't been issues on set with.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Especially with Marlon Brando involved.
Oh my gosh, those are the best stories that I hear, like in the commentary and stuff like that. Just
so there is a documentary.
Did not get along. Oh my gosh.
So in Marlon Brando world, like there's a documentary for the making of Island of Dr. Moreau.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Yes. Holy fuck. Where Val Kilmer got pissed off him and just started acting as Marlon Brando during it.
Yeah.
And like he at one point turned to Fairuza Balk and goes, listen, who cares? We're all getting paid. Like, and they had to close the airlines out of that island so no one could escape. Because people were leaving in the middle of the night. Like, just insane. And Val Kilmer, that's where he started getting bloated and like out of Doc Holliday shape.
I don't remember.
Is that just a documentary just on?
It's just a documentary.
You'll have to send me that because I need to watch it. I'm so intrigued by the whole thing, especially how they changed directors towards the end, and you're like, oh well.
It's actually better than Hearts of Darkness.
Yeah, well, those are both great documentaries. But I don't remember what movie it is, but I remember reading about for all I know, it could have been Island of Dr. Moreau, but there was some movie Brando was doing, and he was not having the director at all. So it came to a point where he wouldn't even allow the director to speak to him directly. He made the director talk to him through like an earpiece. And that's how, and he would like mock him constantly. He'd say things like, don't you wish I was a puppet so you could control me? And stuff like that. All that Brando diva stuff.
Brando also in that movie decided to bring a dwarf that looked like him because he thought it would be a good move.
Yeah.
And then put the strainer on his head because he figured that Moreau would experiment on himself. Like, it just... Brando's a great actor, but Jesus Christ, what a pain in the ass.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my Brando info. I will send you that link when I pull it up, Panda. Like, just...
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
I cannot
watch
wait.
that. Watch that.
That movie intrigues me beyond anything. Just the way, like, after I watched the movie, I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. You know, all the costume designs and everything like that, and all the marrying of, you know, humanoid to animals and stuff like that. Like, I've always been intrigued with that because, you know, my favorite characters are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it's just like, okay, how did they get, you know? And then knowing that Brando was in the movie and knowing the stuff that I had learned just about Brando, like right before that, oh my gosh, I could not wait to hear about all the backstage stuff. And
yeah, I will send that to you as soon as I dig it up. It's impressive.
Awesome. Anyways, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. But thank you both for joining me tonight. I think this was this was great.
Yes.
And thank you to everyone who was watching. And hey, go watch Dracula and
Pluto TV streaming for free.
Yeah, and let me know in the comments what do you think? What do you think of our take on this? Anyways, guys, have a good night, and see you all later.